Hey YouTube, RV Jerry here. Today I want to talk about my little RV. It's a 1990 Jamboree, and it is on a Chevrolet G30 van frame. So when I got this thing a little over 2 years ago, I put exhaust gaskets on it and changed the oxygen sensor. Did a tune-up, plugs and rotor wires, that kind of stuff. And I like all my electric stuff to be new, so I did a map sensor and a distributor module. So now all that stuff is good. Also did the coil. So everything, I shouldn't get, it shouldn't fail out on the road when I'm on vacation. You don't want that. But here 2 years later, it failed the smog check. Awful, just awful. It's just unreal how bad it was. Anyway, I went to work trying to figure out what's what, and this is the ODB1 computer system. So everything this side of 1997 is ODB1. So I had a scanner. This is for ODB1. Actually, it wasn't for ODB1. It was for systems before that. This was a scanner for my Ford, and I did a lot of checking with it. It was a 1985 Ford. So you think all this stuff would work together. You know, this is 1990, so Ford scanner doesn't work on GM and, you know, Chrysler. They're all different. So that was no good to me, but I think I spent about, I don't know, $100 on that at the time. I also have a GM scanner, but it's for ODB2, and that's one I spent about $200 on. I do use it on my truck, a 2001, and I used it on my little tracker, which is a 1997, and the wife's car, which is a 99. So it's good for stuff like that. I also have a sensor tester. Now this is one that just has the lights and says it's good or it's bad. So not really a great thing to use. Not that it's bad, but it doesn't give you specifics. It's just good or bad. It might be marginal, but it'll be good. So, not a good thing to use. What I did use is a simple meter like this. Get a good shot of that. And YouTube. And listen to a lot of Scanner Danner's videos. He's very
Hey guys, Scanner Danner here. Well guys, that was a nice simple one. Pete, nice job on following directions over the phone and giving me a good guide as to where I was going with this today. Open circuit control side of a relay, ground side switch circuit. For more information, for more training on diagnostics and troubleshooting, I want to refer you to my my classroom channel. I'm going to call it that, Scanner Danner Premium, where I invite you into my classroom at Rosedale Technical College. You will find a link right here for my channel. You guys can click on that and subscribe. There is a 14-day free trial. You will not be disappointed disappointed. I have hundreds of hours of classroom lectures on, for example, ground side switching of a relay, a driver test for a computer. This will be chapter 3 material in my book, in my classroom. So hope to see you guys over there. Thanks for joining me. Nice, simple one, open circuit. See you next time.
The little motorhome failed awful, and I could smell it coming out of the tailpipe. It was very bad. So a lot of unburned gases, and I'm wondering what the heck's gone wrong with this thing. 2 years ago when I got it, I did all the basic checks. Compression check. When you pull out all the plugs, do a compression check on your engine, see what it is. It had a problem with the exhaust manifolds warping from the head, and the exhaust leak sucked in air, which told the oxygen sensor a different story, and sent it was just making the injectors throw the engine too much fuel. Well, those exhaust gaskets fix that problem. This thing sailed through the emissions tests with very low emissions. So now it was very high. And so what could have happened in 2 years and about 3,500 miles? That's all we put on this thing. A couple trips to the beach, a couple to Reno, one to Vegas. That's not very much on this machine here, this engine with all these electrical controls. So the first thing I wanted to do, since I did all the basic stuff just not too long ago, the first thing I wanted to do, which I thought, fuel, well, it's throwing out too much fuel. 27 years on that TBI, which is a throttle body injector unit, probably needs new gaskets. So I did that. I did throttle body injectors, and not the injectors, the gasket kit, that's a fuel pressure kit also, and 2 electrical components that are on it. I like electrical components to start new. Those have been under this thing here for 128,000 miles, and that's a lot of heat. So electrical components, are always glad to replace them, although they were quite expensive. One was $104, a little bit more with taxes and getting it here, and the other one was like $50. After I did that, I took it back to the Smog, and it ran much better, and it idled pretty smooth. Still had some kind of rumbler miss, and I wasn't sure about smelling the exhaust. I thought that was too much. Sure enough, it didn't pass. It fixed one thing. There was 2 things wrong, hydrocarbons and COs, and the COs was drastically reduced, and the hydrocarbons were reduced by like 200, from 700 to 500, and it has to get down to like 130 to pass, something like that. That's still stinking way too much. You know how to test that? A simple test is to, I have a 2001 truck out here, pretty new, it's only got 70,000 miles on it. Go out there and smell the exhaust. And then go to your motorhome. I went to my motorhome and smelled the exhaust. Oh no, this is too awful. So I went to work with the rest of the stuff. Throttle position sensor. There are places on YouTube, videos on YouTube that show you how to check the voltage of your throttle position sensor. And one was to simply put this on the middle wire, which is usually your what do they call that? Your sensor wire, sends a signal, the signal wire that goes to your computer, and then ground the other one. Then work your throttle, and it goes between, you'll see the voltage go up, you know, from 0 up, well, actually it goes from like 0.5 volts up to its top, which is probably 4 volts and something. A top voltage, you only got 5 volts there coming back to send back to the computer. So that's your range from a half a volt to 5 volts. And move that throttle. If it goes up and down, then it's okay. That's not so. You have to not only have voltage, it cannot go to 0. It's supposed to start at a particular voltage. Each car is different. Normally, or average is, you know, like half a volt, 5/10. Mine read good, but there was another test which I got from Scanner Danner using the same meter. Only you didn't just connect this to ground. You connected this to the ground wire, one of those wires on each side of the sensor. You have the signal wire in the middle. One is 5 volts coming from your computer, and one is ground also going to your computer. And that's where this ground should be. And this one on the center. And while the car is running, hold that throttle, and that again, that throttle the voltage should go up and go down as you move that the throttle. But my voltage was all over the place. You hold it still, and the voltage is going up and down, up and down. It's just all over the place. And like I said, Scanner Danner will tell you this does not read I constantly like his Snap-on scanner reads. So it's almost a good test. But with just that test, and I don't remember which video what it is in, but I'll try and find that and put a little blur in here. With that test and the voltage being all over the scale, told me that throttle TPS is not working right. And the fact that it goes to 0. And when it's closed, it's 0. And it should start around that 0.5 volts. So that was the it's actually $120 after all said and done. And then I could read the voltage, and what a difference. That made it run better, but it didn't fix it. So it was still, you know, awful smog. So then I thought, even though that map sensor is only 2 years old, I need to test it. So I got my vacuum tester. Everybody has a vacuum tester. I think this is Harbor Freight. I forget the price. So I tested the vacuum on the module, on the the map sensor. So the vacuum there holds good. I tested the vacuum on the line that goes to the transmission, because this one has a transmission vacuum module that controls the shift. That vacuum, it's not called a module, modulator. That module was good. It held its vacuum. One more place to check the vacuum is on your vacuum tank. So I went to check pull off the line on the vacuum tank. As soon as I pull the line off the vacuum and put this thing on, it goes shoo. So of course it's holding its vacuum. Check the line all the way from the back to that tank. with this, it's good too. It just holds the vacuum. So, with that said, those vacuum things are working properly. So then I decided to check the okay, I wanted to see if I had vacuum to the map sensor. So I put this on that vacuum line that comes from the TBI, and my needle is just shaking like this. And I thought, oh no, I've seen that before, and I said, I need to make sure it's not that. Vacuum gauge. So I went and got my other one. Now, I probably had this gauge. It's pretty beat up. I probably had this gauge from my day ones in mechanicking way back in the 70s. Anyway, not only is it a vacuum gauge, it's a fuel pump testing gauge. I put this one on, and again, the needles all over the place. So, what it boils down to, now I didn't mention, I have no air codes on the computer. So even though I don't have a air code reader for this particular model, I've got a video I made of how to read the air codes on these ODB2s with just a paper clip. That's pretty good. For this model, it was the upper two electrical connections on the little plug that comes out, the ODB2 plug, and from there you read the bleeps of the service light. So it's a good video. If you have one of these, you can watch it and learn how to read your codes without a code reader. Thanks to YouTube. Thanks YouTube. I gotta thank YouTube for a lot of this stuff that I've picked up. Like learning all about the electricity and how it runs in the computer, thanks to Scanner Danner. And Scanner Danner, I think I don't know, he was selling something. I think it was books or something, and online books, and I think I did buy those ones that he had out. And what else did I do? Oh, with that fluctuating vacuum gauge. That means, now this comes from my old days of working the mechanic shop in the truck shop at Lou Grubb Chevrolet in Phoenix, Arizona back in the 70s. I learned a lot there. We had new equipment, new trucks. Something would come in, something would be wrong with it, and you had to find out what it was. You couldn't just say it needs a new engine, it needs a new transmission. You had to go in there, find out what part is bad in that, why is it doing that, and replace it. And you know, everything had to be documented, so it's a new Chevrolet truck. So all that information goes back to Chevrolet, and then they make the corrections. Somewhere down the line, somebody's failing something, a bad part, maybe a bad part provider. Anyway, so you had to learn how to be very diagnostic. You had to be a really good diagnostic person, and I mean everything, electricity, mechanical, everything. So I'm starting off. I really wanted that job, and I finally got in a dealership, and I loved it, and I learned a lot. So that takes me back, that fluctuating needle takes me back to those days when I go, what would make the vacuum in the intake manifold fluctuate? Pressure coming back into the manifold. It can't come from the carburetor side. It had to come from the valve side, so you have a leaky valve. And that's my conclusion on this thing. I have a leaky valve, or maybe even two. And the way to test that is to do a leak down test on it. And once you put air in the cylinder, you're going to air coming out the carburetor part. Now I did this 2 years ago when I got the engine. I like to do that compression test from leak down test. How good is the engine? And it tested out, you know, really good back then. But now it has a problem. And after just 3,500 miles, I don't know why, but there's the problem. So how do I know it's a valve and not a head gasket? Well, if it was a head gasket, I might have a really running rough engine, because my gases are going to be going into the next cylinder and probably be getting fired at a different at the wrong time. It would push any exhaust gases in there, would push any fuel that's being drawn into it, and it just wouldn't run right. It'd be like having two dead cylinders. Sorry. So I'm going to put a little bleep in here of Scanner Danner's videos, at least where his channel is, and how this might help you in your automotive wiring problems, computer problems, how to test sensors, and we can only do with these things. I like to call it the crude test. Okay, in reality I should do a leak down test on this and check out each cylinder to see, you know, which and how many valves are leaking. But the reality of it is, this has almost 130,000 miles on it, and I've really been itching to pull it out of there and paint it Chevy orange and put some valve covers on it that are chrome and shiny. So that's what's going to happen. I'm not messing around on top here like I did last time. You get all your hands cut up. This exhaust over here on this side is about that far from the wall and the edge of, you know, where this metal is. I think I taped it all up last time to keep from cutting my hands all up, but it will, with the front end off of there, the front end comes off and that little engine will just slip right out of there. You have to make a special plate fit on the carburetor thing, get your hoist down real low, because you have to lift it, oh, probably about that much to get that pan above and out of the cross member. In the Chevrolet garage, you would do it different. We lifted the vehicle up and dropped the whole thing. The front end, left the engine on that cross member, and the front end, the tires, and just lift the body off and just let the engine set on the ground there with the front end, and then work on it. But I don't have that big hoist now, so we're going to do it the other way, the old way. The engine is going to come straight out, and I'll do a video of that. And when it goes back in, it's going to be Chevy orange, and at least maybe a chrome pan and chrome valve cover. That we'll see about that. Anyway, and then while I have it out, I'm going to replace everything new around it. The exhaust manifolds. We got a power steering pump up front, and we have air conditioning pump. The alternator was just replaced 2 years ago, and with all those components, all the hoses are going, all those components new, then there's nothing there left to break down when I'm driving on vacation. So that's it. You might ask why I'm doing this. Well, this thing was kind of like dropped in my lap, and everything really works on it. It gets and scats, even with the way the engine's running now. The gas mileage was horrible, but maybe with this stuff it'll run better. Wheelbase. Wheelbase is the same as that 2001 Chevy truck sitting right next to it. It's a extended cab. Not quad door, just extended cab, and that wheelbase is exactly the same as this thing, so you can drive this thing around town like you're driving your pickup. Just watch your back end. It knocks those cars out of the way. RV people, huh? Okay, I'll get that little blip on here, and you want to get a shot of this? Get a look at this. I'll get the light, or get the camera. There we go. Okay. What do we got here? We have a 454. And what luck? Look down there. Yep, that sticker says I don't know if you can read it. Remanufactured for General Motors. This is a service. Can't read that. Maybe I can read it after I get it on the screen. Hydromatic. GM replacement. So it's been replaced. 454, like I said, I replaced, put the kit in here, same injectors. This is the idle control. You know, it's having a problem idling, and it's electric part. And the TPS, throttle position sensor, replaced that. So it's good to go. Replaced the map. That was done 2 years ago. As you can see, I cleaned that off. I also replaced the module in here. New wires. New plugs. What else can I say? Here. That's what you have to work with. That's how far away those plugs and everything are. So it'll go, the manifolds and everything will go attached when I slip it back in here. Clean all this up, and I don't know. I kind of like paint that orange. Get somebody to give me do a glass cover for it. That's us mechanics. All new hoses, and put this sucker back together. Alright. It's RV Jerry in my 1990 Jamboree Chevy 454. And I like what I can do is fix things. What I can't do is spend another $30,000 or better on another used RV. So this one's still great. I like this RV. It's just perfect. Actually, I had a salesman go through a walkthrough on a 2006, and it's like if he walked in this door and started talking. Okay, be back. Thanks for watching.